The 80s kids have dreamt of having their own shape-shifting Transformers since they first heard Optimus Prime call, Autobots, roll out. That year in 2007 was the birth of a new generation of fans when Michael Bay brought the animated cast into the CGI era on the big screen. But can a Transformer ever come to life? Welcome back to Get Around How. Make sure you're subscribed to get the latest and greatest videos about vehicles. Today we explore the possibility of real-life Transformers, but let's refresh what we know about them first. Transformers are a species of sentient, living robotic beings originating from the distant machine world of Cybertron. They can change their bodies at will. They do this by rearranging themselves to transform from a robotic form that kinda looks like a humanoid to a hidden form, most popularly as vehicles. In the Transformers universe, audiences see the robots' metal bodies easily built and repaired by other Transformers from conventional mechanical parts. But they're also definitely more than just machinery. Transformers can experience emotions and physical sensations. After all, Optimus Prime is well known for his belief that freedom is the right of all sentient beings, so we know these are living, feeling, metal beings. The earlier movies helped show how the robot's ability to transform developed as something they evolved to do, like wartime innovations to disguise themselves from their enemies. Other story arcs write that their transformations came as an unexpected side effect when they were rebuilt by their ship on Earth. Modern versions of the Transformers have established that Cybertrons transform thanks to a complex mechanical organ known as the transformation cog or T-cog. The Cybertron's life force that makes them living, sentient, intelligent beings is referred to as the spark. The spark is a specially charged mass of positrons that lives within their bodies. Essentially, the Transformers' equivalent to a human soul. Instead of requiring food, air, and water to survive, Cybertrons need fuel, and this need sparked many wars in the Transformers universe. Most Transformers rely on energon, a fuel that can be created by processing other fuel sources like oil and gas into an energon cube, which powers the Transformers. Some Transformers can unite with one or more other Cybertrons to transform into a single, enormous super robot. Transformers fight with weaponry, from handheld guns to shoulder cannons, which wield powers greater than human guns. Optimus Prime has an ion blaster, and Cliffjumper uses glass gas that makes his enemies as breakable as glass. Some Transformers can project energy into a physical form to create weapons, like the Energon Axe and Energon Mace. In the Michael Bay films, Transformers' weapons are built-in extensions of their bodies, usually seen as physical transformations for their hands and forearm. A smart creative decision since earlier stories didn't explain where Transformers stored their weapons when not in use. Now that we know what makes Transformers unique, we know that a real-life robot must be able to transform from a harmless machine or object into a human-like being with intelligence and emotions. Oh, and having some badass weapons would be nice too. Is creating something like this even possible? There have been many attempts to develop Transformers in real life, with some even mimicking plenty of the signature Transformer characteristics. In 2018, Paramount Pictures asked YouTuber James Bruton for some cool marketing. He was to create a life-size Bumblebee Transformer to promote the new Travis Knight-directed film. Bruton, a former toy designer, General Robotics, electrical, and mechanical engineer, enlisted the help of a costume and prop builder to create a yellow VW Beetle that could transform into a standing, moving robot. The transformation from car to Bumblebee was achieved using compressed air and mechanics to eject pieces of the car and raise the robot into a standing position. Electric actuators lift the door and rear canopy out of the way. Bruton used joysticks to control the robot's head and arms, but its feet remain stationary. Does it technically transform from one object to another? Kind of. It's more like the same object moving positions to appear different. And most importantly, the car isn't real. It's created mostly from foam and other lightweight materials. It has no actual interior room for passengers and doesn't move. This attempt to bring Bumblebee to life was a cool home-built project, but it's far from being anything like a real-life Transformer. However, YouTube home tinkerers aren't the only ones attempting to make Transformers a reality. An engineering team at Virginia Tech set out to find a material that could be used to build multifunctional, morphing robots that retain the flexibility of living organisms. The material needed to be soft enough to dramatically change shape, yet rigid enough to create machines that could perform different functions. The Goldilocks problem in engineering terms. The engineers studied kurigami, the Japanese art of making shapes out of paper by cutting. This allowed them to find a set of viable, repeating patterns. Next, they created an endoskeleton inside a rubber skin from a low melting point alloy. When heated, this composite changes shape rapidly while remaining strong enough to bear loads. The team added soft, tendril-like heaters next to the composite mesh to heat the material. When the heaters are activated, the endoskeleton can morph into the shape programmed through kurigami. Using the technology, the researchers made complex shapes from cylinders to balls to bumpy domes. The shapes could change and be fixed in place in less than 1/10 of a second. If the material breaks, it could be healed multiple times by melting and reforming the endoskeleton. So what does this strange project have to do with Transformers? Combined with onboard power, control, and mothers, the team created a drone that autonomously morphs from ground to air vehicle. They've also made a small, deployable submarine to retrieve underwater objects. While drastically smaller, these inventions are more functional than Bruton's Bumblebee and can be incorporated into much bigger machines. The US military seems to see the promise here. The project was funded through a DARPA award. So far, we've seen a life-size transformer that does little transforming and a toy-sized drone that has a ton of future promise, but not much style. And we've yet to see a transformer you can drive like Optimus Prime or Bumblebee. But what about a 12-foot or 4-meter tall robot that could transform into a sports car in about a minute? The J-Deet Ride robot is the brainchild of Kenji Ishida, the CEO of Japanese company Brave Robotics, who created it with robot consulting firm Azratech and Sensei Technologies, a roller coaster manufacturer. This transformer certainly looks the part. Ishida took inspiration from transforming robots in anime movies. Mechanical designer Kunio Akawara, famous for his work with the Gundam series, brought Ishida's vision to life. In vehicle mode, the J-Deet Ride has a top speed of about 37 miles per hour or 60 kilometers per hour and can hold 2 people. When it transforms into its robot form, it can either roll along on its car wheels at about 18 miles per hour or 30 kilometers per hour, or walk. Walking mode is where J-Deet Ride becomes less Optimus Prime and more senior. The robot is painfully slow when mimicking human steps, covering just 328 feet or 100 meters each hour. Still, it looks great. This robot has a true Transformers-esque face that gives off the impression of life, and its arms and legs move in a human-like way. The company has created other Transformers like a quarter-scale Bumblebee that transforms between a miniature remote control car and a walking robot. But if you want a Transformer that looks less like a cartoon in vehicle mode, you'll want to check out the Letrons from Turkish startup Latvision. They've created a robot that looks like a standard BMW 3 Series coupe that can transform into a robot at the push of a button. The transformation takes about 40 seconds, and when in robot mode, the Letrons can move its arms, fingers, and head. It could drive at speeds up to 12.4 miles per hour or 20 kilometers per hour, but at this time, it's not safe for humans to drive yet, and it is still being operated remotely. It also can't walk yet, but its head and fingers have the most human-like movement. These machines are undeniably cool, but they're missing the most crucial part: personality, the element that made us fall for Bumblebee and cheer for Optimus Prime. These are far from being sentient beings. They cannot be programmed and sent off to fight the Decepticons alone. What might change that? We'd need to see the implementation of seriously good AI. And if these humanoid robots continue to fight, they'll need weapon systems that can run off that AI. That kind of trust takes a long time to build. Check out our video on AI fighter jets. Real-life robots similar to Transformers' capabilities are still a dream, but a pretty convincing version may come in some form. Theme parks worldwide are expressing a lot of interest in the products Latvision and Brave Robotics are working on. You might soon sit in a ride that can transform, talk, and shoot as you fight off evil robots before grabbing an ice cream and catching the afternoon parade. How long do you think it will be before we see these robots on the streets?